Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at a truly legendary boxing match. This is a fight that literally forced fighters, trainers, and fans all over the world to completely rethink what it actually takes to become a true champion. We're going to break down the anatomy of a massive upset, focusing specifically on the tactical shift that happens inside the ring and how brains can, quite frankly, dismantle pure brawn.
Okay, let's dive into this. One punch can win a championship. One mistake can end a career. But sometimes, one fight changes the entire sport. That just perfectly captures the incredibly high stakes and the sheer mental warfare of the historic bout we're exploring today. Boxing is always this intense battle of power, speed, and heart, but every generation has that one unique fight that raises the bar for literally everyone who comes after it. Section 1. The anatomy of an upset. A clash of styles. Even before the opening bell rang, the expectations were absolutely through the roof. We had two elite fighters stepping into the ring, both with incredibly impressive records, but they had completely opposing philosophies on how to win. Analysts were totally divided. The fans split right down the middle. On one hand, you've got a fighter who relied heavily on explosive knockout power, just pure unadulterated aggression. And then, on the exact opposite side, you have a fighter who firmly believed that patience, precise timing, and just a deep ring IQ would eventually overcome that raw aggression. It is the classic matchup, right? Power versus strategy. And when that bell finally rang, nobody expected how this extreme contrast would actually play out in real time. Section 2. Surviving the early chaos, the hidden reveal. So in those opening rounds, things went exactly how the power hitter planned. The early rounds belonged entirely to the aggressor. We're talking heavy, heavy punches, suffocating constant pressure, and every single exchange looked incredibly dangerous for the defending fighter. It really looked like a one-sided affair. But underneath all that visible chaos, something truly fascinating was happening. The defender actually wasn't trying to win every exchange. This is a massive paradigm shift. Surviving wasn't about losing those rounds. It was a highly deliberate, calculated phase of the fight. The defender was intentionally absorbing the pressure, managing the danger, and playing a much, much longer game than anyone in the arena realized at the time. Section 3. The tactical shift. Collecting data under pressure. Now, what's really interesting about this is that while the roaring crowd thought they were watching a beatdown, they were actually watching an absolute masterclass in live information gathering. Here is exactly what the defending fighter was doing while under fire. He was actively downloading data in real time. He was logging every single job thrown at him. He was recognizing the patterns in every combination. He was paying close attention to every little physical habit and tell his opponent had. Basically, he was mapping out his opponent's entire offensive system, just preparing for that precise moment when he could force a massive shift in momentum. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when that mental data collection starts paying off in the middle rounds. The dynamics completely shift. As the aggressor starts to fatigue from his own massive output, his punches become noticeably wider, he's missing a lot more often, and his footwork visibly slows down. Meanwhile, what's the defender doing? Well, he's using the data he gathered. He starts controlling the distance with absolute precision. He's making very small, calculated adjustments, and suddenly, out of nowhere, he is the one dictating the space in the ring. The patience is completely paying off. I want to slow down for just a second here, because this brings us to perhaps boxing's greatest secret. Champions don't always make dramatic changes. Sometimes they make tiny corrections. It wasn't some massive, flashy new move that turned the tide of this bout. It was these invisible micro-adjustments. A half step back, a slightly altered guard, a subtle shift in weight. Those tiny things completely changed the entire trajectory of the fight. Section 4. The perfectly timed counter, the turning point. All of this careful analysis, all of this enduring under pressure and making those tiny corrections, it all led directly to one specific moment. The tension in the arena had been building for rounds, just waiting to see if the aggressor would find the knockout or if the defender's brilliant strategy would finally materialize. And then it happened, a perfectly timed counter. Now here's the absolute most crucial detail. It was not the hardest punch of the night. Not by a long shot. It was simply the smartest punch of the night. Because the defender had downloaded all that data, he knew exactly where his opponent's head was going to be. It landed perfectly clean, and when it did, the entire crowd just exploded. The whole atmosphere shifted in a millisecond. From that exact second onward, a completely new reality set in. The aggressor, who was previously overflowing with total confidence, suddenly became extremely cautious, and the defender, who had spent the early rounds just trying to survive, suddenly became unstoppable. Momentum in boxing is a very, very real thing. Once the belief changed inside that ring, the confidence literally switched corners entirely, and everything outside the ring changed right along with it. Section 5. Adaptability wins championships. The macro lesson. Let's move forward and see how this builds step by step. If we zoom out from the specific details of this one amazing fight, we can see that this incredible upset wasn't just a win for one guy. It was undeniable proof of an overarching philosophy that the entire boxing world had to stop and acknowledge. I mean, Mike Tyson famously said, "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face." Well, surviving those punches takes a specific framework. Step 1. Power gets attention. It's flashy, it's dangerous, it sells tickets and grabs headlines. Step 2. Technique wins rounds. Being skilled and defensively sound will keep you in the fight and put points on the scorecards. But step 3. Adaptability wins championships. The absolute best fighters in the world aren't always the fastest or the strongest. They're the ones who can solve complex problems while under immense physical pressure. That is what truly separates an elite champion from everyone else. And because of that powerful lesson, this bout left a permanent mark on boxing history. People still debate the specific skills of the fighters involved, but the legacy, it's totally undeniable. It inspired a whole new generation of fighters who watched that upset unfold. It sparked a renewed, intensive study of angles and timing across training camps worldwide. And honestly, most importantly, it elevated the concept of ring intelligence way over raw, unbridled power. That is the true beauty of the sport. Great fights never actually end. They just keep teaching us vital lessons long after the final bell has rung. Which leaves us with a final thought to ponder today. In the fights of your own life, whatever they may be, are you relying on raw power and sheer force, or are you making the subtle, patient, tactical shifts required to actually win? Sometimes, you just need to step back, collect the data under pressure, make a tiny correction, and wait for your perfect counter. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Until next time, keep learning, keep adapting, and keep making those crucial adjustments.